Were you aware? Were you aware? This is day 14 of our Name a Game a Day crusade through most of May. Were you also aware it means we're discussing a game beginning with N? N. For
New Super Mario Bros.
Were you also aware I was only needed for the intro of this?
I don't suppose any of you can remember the very first game you followed from initial trailer or announcement to it finally landing in your hands, can you? Prior to that, there was no concept of a waiting period between announcement and fruition. Games just happened, and you had them, and you played them until the next one happened. I suppose that's the double-edged sword of learning about hype and how to control your own. Well, I remember the very first game I followed all the way to actually playing it. It was the very first game I ever pre-ordered in any regard. It was the first game I ever let the hype wash over me. The first one I ever counted the days until release. I didn't have enough experience in gaming or the right systems by that point in my life to be super familiar with Mario's adventures prior to Super Mario World or Super Mario Bros. 3 on the SNES or their re-release on the Game Boy Advance, so the new factor of New Super Mario Bros. Was already interesting to me. What new abilities would he receive? Would Yoshi make an appearance? What about the Hammer Brothers suit? Of course, watching the very first trailer would show off some of the new abilities in the game, but I never believed that was all of them. Trailers are designed to hype you up and hide some secrets. Of course, my wild mind overcomplicated the process and asked stupid questions like, what if Mario was a dinosaur? Odyssey made that dream come true years later, but still. I don't think I've ever been more excited to hold a game in my hands than I was to hold New Super Mario Bros. The box art already setting great expectations for the game by showing off giant Mario in all of his high-def glory. Then, I put it in my silver Nintendo DS, I powered it up, and I played it for the very first time. I don't think there's a way to accurately describe playing NSMB for the very first time except new. New is the perfect way, actually. This was a brand new Mario adventure taking place on a 2.5D dimensional plane on a dual-screen handheld device that I was now completely entranced by. I remember so many firsts and new things I was able to experience about this. I remember putting to memory tips and tricks I thought I taught myself. I remember feeling so cognitively aware of NSMB, it was like I had never played another Mario game in my life. I remember falling into my first pit only to find out wall jumping was a thing. I hopped out of there and suddenly had a new power that I could use to reach new heights. I remember getting stuck on some brick blocks and randomly discovering the ground pound and how if you're Big Mario and you hold the down button over a block that spits multiple coins, a power-up pops out after the 10th or 11th coin. I remember feeling so unbelievably intelligent and skillful because I brought a Mega Mushroom through the entirety of Bowser's final castle and used it to kick his kid off the stage and stomp him in the most one-sided final battle I've ever seen in a Mario game. I was so proud and so impressed, I believed no moment could surpass that. I absolutely will not get this to happen in this footage, but I remember in the fourth world, the jungle area, I was able to cross most of the entire area without ever touching the ground. I simply bounced on enemies' heads throughout the whole deal. I wasn't even trying to do that, I just did. My mind was blown and I felt like anything was possible. I remember reading in a cheat book, which I believe we still have, that you can activate a mode where you not only get to play as Luigi, but you can activate a no going backward mode where you can no longer travel left, just like older Mario Bros games. New Super Mario Bros was a very great teacher during my gaming formative years and how to look at different problems that bounce, roll, run, and jump in your way, and the various skills you can use that you already have to deal with them. Enemies have more than one way to be dealt with. There sometimes is a second way to do things, to do them better, to do them differently, and to end up with a new result. The bosses of the second and fifth worlds are excellent teachers of this lesson. It also taught me to read the manuals, try more buttons, and if you fall, you may have a wall jump to get you out of that pit. But NSMB doesn't really just stop at the epic, awesome adventure you can have with Mario, Luigi, Peach, Bowser, and this prick. If you just so happen to have a companion also equipped with a DS, a long car ride with nothing to do, and a desire to win, you can play multiplayer. This is a diminished version of the game where two players compete to earn big stars. There's 5 stages in which you can fight each other, some enemies, and use power-ups to steal stars from each other. There's also a pile of minigames you can play alone or with a friend similar to the ones in Super Mario 64 DS. It'll sound fairly dumb to many of you, but I regard New Super Mario Bros. As the very first game I ever became cognitively aware of as far as game mechanics, game feel, movement, playstyle, genre, and overall pleasure in gaming. I've played previous games, sure, but NSMB just stuck with me. The power-ups were new and had mechanics and parts of levels designed to fit them, secrets to find, and some of them are still exclusive to this game like the blue shell. Some were so cool they made it into other games like the Mega Mushroom. The level designs were so memorable, fun, tricky, and colorful. The jungle world is still my favorite. I even like the ice world. Save your gasps. The music, which stuck with many of us because things moved to the beat. Things were designed to turn, bounce, spin, and jump to the bars in the tunes you hear. That's absolutely fucking incredible. Until I wrote this, I never thought of timing my jumps to their reactions to the music, but now I'm considering replaying the whole game again just to try and do that on each level. There's so much of this game that I still look for in other games, more than just Mario games, that NSMB just did first for me that I don't often see. Wall jumping, for one. It's not the first one to do it, but it always excites me to see other games implement this because it reminds me of how great NSMB's was and is. This specific era and design of Mario is my absolute favorite because it continued for a very long time. NSMB saw sequels on the Wii, 3DS, Wii U, and ports on the Switch that I was able to share with Andy. There is no elation more potent, more cured, more grandiose than realizing the design of the music, the new abilities Mario was given, some of the power-ups you loved, and the colors of the world you loved can now be experienced by people you treasure. Sure, it's not exactly the same, but it was scaled up, expanded, cleaned up, better animated, and now I get to hand Andy a controller and he gets to experience all of this with me on a bigger, better screen. NSMB is a gaming experience more joyful than most I've ever had because you don't have too many reawakenings in gaming to a genre or an entire franchise. Sure, I was in 5th grade, I probably had a few awakenings to games by that point in my life, but this was the first one to ever stick with me. The first one to ever influence future gaming experiences, choices, and purchases. The first one I ever remember becoming excited to share with not only Andy, but the prospect of it being shared with the world. There was no way in hell I wanted to keep this to myself. I wanted everyone to have this kind of excitement for a game, or several games they've played. It's incredible. New Super Mario Bros. In a way changed my life from that point onward and introduced me to a world of new that I had never seen before and have since been potently enjoying living in. NSMB is a treasure of an experience, and I hope you either got to enjoy the game to some degree or you feel very similar about a game you love too. Tell us about a game you love starting with N. Go ahead, write in the comments. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon for O.